Long before guns and cannons, warriors clashed with bronze blades and iron swords that shaped the destiny of empires. For millennia, human hands knew only the feel of stone, wood, and bone. These were the materials that shaped our world. Our ancestors crafted tools for hunting and building from the earth around them. A sharp piece of flint could serve as a knife, a heavy rock could become a hammer. This was the Stone Age, a time of remarkable ingenuity. Yet humanity was on the verge of a discovery that would change the course of our history forever. It was a discovery that lay hidden within the rocks themselves, waiting for a curious mind and the searing heat of a fire to reveal its true potential and unlock a new era. Imagine, if you will, an ancient potter tending to their kiln. They might have noticed something extraordinary happening. Certain colorful rocks, perhaps used to decorate the pottery or line the fire pit, began to weep. They produced small, shiny droplets as the fire grew hotter. This liquid would cool and harden into a bright, malleable substance. This was copper, one of the first metals to be mastered by humankind. It was beautiful and could be hammered into shapes, but it was also quite soft. It was a tantalizing glimpse of what was possible, a first step out of the Stone Age, but not yet the revolution that was to come. The true breakthrough occurred when ancient artisans began to experiment. They were the first metallurgists, the first alchemists of a new age. By mixing this newly discovered copper with another, far rarer metal, tin, something magical happened. The combination of the two created a substance that was far stronger and more durable than either of its parts. This new alloy was called bronze. Its creation was not a single event, but a gradual process of trial, error, and shared knowledge that spread across the ancient world. With bronze, humanity had found a material that could hold a sharp edge and withstand the rigors of hard work, and indeed of conflict. The arrival of bronze was nothing short of a revolution. For the first time, we could create tools and weapons of unparalleled strength and precision. A bronze axe could fell a tree with an ease unimaginable to a stone axe wielder. A bronze knife could be sharpened to a razor-fine edge. This new technology spread from the Near East to Europe and Asia, creating new trade routes for the essential ingredients of copper and tin. Societies that mastered the art of bronze making gained a significant advantage. They could grow more food, build more impressive structures, and, most critically, forge a new generation of weapons that would forever alter the face of human warfare. Bronze is a remarkable human invention. It is not a pure metal found in nature, but an alloy, a special mixture created by us. To make it, ancient metal workers would take copper ore, a greenish-hued rock, and smelt it in a very hot furnace to extract the pure copper. Then they would add a small amount of tin, usually about 1 part tin to 9 parts copper. This mixture was then melted together, poured into molds made of stone or clay, and left to cool. The resulting object was hard, resistant to rust, and had a beautiful golden brown luster. This process required great skill, a deep understanding of fire, and access to trade networks to acquire both necessary metals. The Bronze Age eventually gave way to an even more powerful material. This substance was far more common than copper and tin, yet far more difficult to master. It was iron. Iron ore is one of the most abundant elements in the Earth's crust, but unlocking its potential requires immense heat, far greater than that needed for bronze. Early attempts likely produced a spongy, brittle material. It took centuries of refinement to develop furnaces known as bloomeries that could get hot enough to separate the iron from its ore. The blacksmith would then have to repeatedly heat and hammer this bloom to remove impurities and shape the metal. It was a loud, fiery, and laborious process. The difference between bronze and iron was profound and had enormous consequences for ancient civilizations. Bronze was, in many ways, the metal of the elite. The rarity of tin meant that bronze weapons and tools were expensive and accessible only to the wealthy and powerful, the kings, the nobles, and their professional soldiers. It was a material that helped to create and maintain rigid social hierarchies. Iron, on the other hand, was the great democratizer of metals. Because its ore was so common, iron weapons and tools could be produced in vast quantities and at a much lower cost. Suddenly, entire armies, not just a king's personal guard, could be equipped with strong, effective weapons. This shift from bronze to iron was not just a change in material, it was a change in power. The old Bronze Age empires, with their power concentrated in the hands of a few, found themselves vulnerable to new groups armed with this cheaper, more abundant metal. The Hittites of Anatolia were among the first to master ironworking, and their military success was a testament to its power. The transition was not immediate, and for a time the two metals coexisted. But the advantages of iron were undeniable. It allowed for the rise of new empires like the Assyrians and later the Romans, who could field massive armies equipped with iron, fundamentally reshaping the political map of the ancient world. The invention of bronze changed the very nature of personal combat. Before, weapons were often clubs or short stone daggers designed for bludgeoning or close-quarters stabbing. Bronze, however, could be cast into long, slender shapes that held a sharp edge. This led to the creation of the first true swords. Early bronze swords were revolutionary. They allowed a warrior to slash and thrust from a greater distance, keeping their opponent at bay. The Mycenaeans of ancient Greece and the warriors of the Shang dynasty in China became masters of bronze weaponry, creating elegant and deadly swords that were as much a symbol of status as they were a tool of war. A warrior carrying a bronze sword was a formidable sight. Of course, a new weapon of attack inevitably leads to new methods of defense. As swords and spears became longer and sharper, the need for effective protection grew. While early shields were made of wood or tough animal hide, bronze offered a new level of security. A sheet of bronze could be hammered and shaped to cover a wooden frame, creating a shield capable of deflecting a sword blow or stopping a spear thrust. These shields came in all shapes and sizes, from the large figure-8 shields of the Mycenaeans to the round shields favored by Celtic warriors. A well-armed soldier now entered battle with a bronze sword in one hand and a bronze-faced shield in the other, a deadly combination of offense and defense. Perhaps the most terrifying innovation of the Bronze Age battlefield was the war chariot. This was the ancient world's equivalent of a battle tank. A light, two-wheeled cart, often reinforced with bronze and pulled by two fast horses, could carry a driver and an archer or spearman. Chariots were not used to charge headfirst into infantry formations as one might imagine. Instead, they were used as mobile missile platforms. They would race along the flanks of an enemy army, showering them with arrows and javelins, causing chaos and confusion before the main infantry assault began. The Egyptians and the Hittites famously used thousands of chariots in epic encounters like the Battle of Kadesh. When iron arrived, it built upon these Bronze Age foundations and perfected them. Iron swords could be made stronger, sharper, and less prone to breaking than their bronze counterparts. The Roman legionary's short sword, the gladius, was a masterpiece of iron weaponry, designed for brutal efficiency in close-packed formations. Iron also allowed for the creation of better armor. While bronze armor was largely reserved for heroes and kings, iron enabled the production of mail shirts and helmets for the common soldier. This meant that entire armies could go into battle better protected than ever before. The chariot's dominance waned as well, replaced by the rise of organized ironclad infantry and eventually cavalry. The age of the citizen soldier had truly begun. Looking back at the warfare of the Bronze and Iron Ages is more than just an interesting history lesson. It reveals a fundamental pattern in human development, the intimate link between technology and power. The societies that first mastered bronze working, like those in Mesopotamia and Egypt, were able to build the first great empires. They established control over their neighbors not just through force of will, but through the superior force of their weapons. This technological advantage allowed them to expand their territories, control vital trade routes, and build civilizations that would endure for centuries. It is a story that has been repeated throughout our history, from the longbow to the fighter jet. The shift from bronze to iron teaches us a powerful lesson about disruption and adaptation. The established Bronze Age powers, with their wealth tied to the control of tin and copper, suddenly found their military advantage eroding. New groups, once on the periphery, could now challenge the old empires using the cheaper and more accessible iron. The collapse of many Bronze Age civilizations around 1200 BCE is a complex event, but the proliferation of iron weaponry certainly played a role. It shows that no advantage is permanent and that the ability to adapt to new technologies is crucial for survival. A society that clings to old methods in the face of new innovation is destined to be left behind. Furthermore, studying these ancient conflicts gives us insight into the very organization of society. The expensive nature of bronze weaponry reinforced an aristocratic, heroic model of warfare fought by a small warrior elite. The war chariot was the ultimate expression of this. However, the widespread availability of iron made mass infantry armies possible. This required new forms of social organization, training, and discipline. The Greek phalanx or the Roman legion were not just military formations. They were reflections of a society that could organize, equip, and deploy thousands of its citizens for a common cause. How a society fights is a mirror of how it is structured. Ultimately, understanding this ancient arms race helps us to understand our own world. The fundamental principles have not changed. Nations today still compete for technological superiority, knowing that it can translate directly into economic and military power. The development of bronze and iron weapons set humanity on a path of escalating military innovation that continues to this day. By examining these first crucial steps, the casting of the first bronze sword, the forging of the first iron helmet, we gain a deeper appreciation for the long and complex journey that has shaped our modern world, reminding us that the echoes of those ancient blacksmiths' hammers can still be heard in the conflicts and innovations of our own time.